Welcome to the Bitcoin Boomer Show. Here's your host, the Bitcoin Boomer himself, Gary Leland.
And welcome to the Bitcoin Boomer Show. I'm your host, Gary Leland, known as the Bitcoin Boomer. That's right. I like Bitcoin. I'm a boomer. So I'm the Bitcoin Boomer. I hope you're doing wonderful today, and I think you're really going to enjoy today's show. We're talking to Mel Sands. Mel Sands is helping run Bitcoin Alaska. She does a Bitcoin fashion report. She's been in Bitcoin quite a while now, and she's a personal friend of mine. So I'm going to enjoy talking with Mel and hearing what she has to say. I also want to introduce my wonderful producer, Stephanie. Stephanie, you're the person that sets up all these interviews, and you set up Mel. What do you think of Mel?
Yeah, Mel's great. We had her before, so it's exciting to have her on again. And it sounds like she's involved with this Alaska conference for Bitcoin. And yeah, Alaska is a cool place. I haven't been, but I heard good things. So excited to hear what she says will happen at this conference. I think it's in July or in the summertime.
Yeah, it's in July, and I haven't been to Alaska either. So this may be a good opportunity for me to go to Alaska. And by going to the conference, I guess I can probably write it off as an expense even, since that's what I do for a living is Bitcoin.
Yeah.
So kind of like looking for, I wish it was like a tax credit for my expenses, but I'll take all the write-offs I can get for sure. But yeah, Mel's going to come on. We're going to talk about the conference. As I said, we're going to talk about the fashion reports she does. The conference, I think, is like 4 or 5 or 6 days. I'm not sure, but it seems like a long time. So we'll have to find out the scoop on that. And I do want to make sure you know to share the show with your friends. We're not here to try to sell you Bitcoin or make you buy Bitcoin. But we do want to educate you on Bitcoin so that you know what it is and what the possible future is for Bitcoin. It's been here now since 2006, so it's been here quite a while now, and it's gone from a nickel to $109,000. So it's really increased in value. I'd like to see that kind of value increase over the next 10 years or so, that's for sure. And a lot of people out there think that that could happen. So do subscribe to the show, because like I said, we're just trying to educate you on the show. Now we're going to take a break for a word from our sponsor, and we'll be right back with Mel Sands after these messages. So stay tuned. See you on the flip-flop. And welcome back to the Bitcoin Boomer Show. We have got a great show for you today. You're really going to enjoy it. We're bringing back not only a Bitcoiner, but a friend of mine, Mel Sands. But before we start the show, I do want to make sure that you know about the BitBlock Boom Bitcoin Conference. Now, I've been hosting the BitBlock Boom Conference. Well, this is my 8th year, so I would appreciate if you take a look at it. But if you like Bitcoin, or if you're interested in Bitcoin, you need to check out and think about coming to the BitBlock Boom. So go to bitblockboom.com today and check out tickets. Now, on today's show, as I said a minute ago, we have Mel Sands. Mel's a Bitcoiner. She's working with a new conference in Alaska, in Juneau, Alaska, called the Bitcoin Alaska Conference. Bitcoin Alaska, I guess, is really the name for it. And she does the Bitcoin Fashion Report, and she's a good friend of mine. So let's welcome Mel to the show. Mel, you're one of the few people who've been here more than one time. So congratulations on joining the 2-episode club. Kind of like Saturday Night Live has the 5-episode club. We're just doing 2-episode club. So you're one of the few. We'll get you that jacket soon.
I'm honored.
Yeah. So how have you been doing, and what's going on that you know new with Bitcoin? Tell me something new. I need some new information here. I haven't looked at a single YouTube or tweet in an hour. Tell me something new.
Bitcoin?
Come on. Spit it out. Spit it out.
Nothing.
You're worthless. You're simply
I'm worthless in this department. Nothing new. I mean, it's great.
Then we'll
it's
move
still
along.
The same.
The new section you just killed. You just killed our new section.
Going.
You just killed our new what's new in Bitcoin section. You just killed it.
Sorry.
This was our first time we were doing it. That's okay. Hey, Mel, I'm just messing with you, and you know that.
I'm really excited about doing my fashion report at BitBlock Boom, though.
Oh, well, let's go into that. That's on my list of things here. And in case you haven't seen it, here's my list. And that's on my list of things here. So let's talk about the Bitcoin Fashion Report, which I love. My shoes were on the Fashion Report one time. I felt very excited about that. So tell us about the Fashion Report.
Okay. So in Nashville last year, I decided I was going to do this fashion report. Oh, here, take a look. You want to take a look at it first, and then we'll talk about it.
Sounds good. Okay, for those who are listening instead of watching, we're watching a video of people wearing fashions that they wear at Bitcoin. Pretty nice. Report. So Mel, when did you start making the fashion reports? When did this start happening?
Well, I started taking pictures of people at events who were dressed nicely or dressed in Bitcoin garb or just had something cool on that was Bitcoin related. And then in Nashville, I decided I was going to start taking pictures of people who either just looked great or, just really were into it, whether they were dressed in Bitcoin garb or not. And you can see there's a group of girls and they're just dressed to the nines. And I'm like, I got to get a picture of them. And, like these girls, I mean, look at them. They were having a ball and they were just rocking it. So they made the report. And then, you can see some of the guys like Anders at his party. I loved that he was wearing pink shoes that matched his pink shirt. And then, Lisa and Ella, they just looked great. Carla's lightning boots, loved it. So, it just depends on what strikes me.
Who's that?
And, what strikes me. And look at David. Look at him. Look at him. I mean, he's the epitome of Bitcoin coolness right there. So, it's just whatever strikes me and you'll make the report. And then I've also got the Bitcoin shoe report. Now, the shoes, they better be orange or Bitcoin themed. So you're not getting away with no Bitcoin theme on shoes.
Well, my shoes made Bitcoin it on the report one time.
Like these guys, again, they're orange, but no Bitcoin, logos. But look, they're in orange, and look at, she's got her orange bag or orange shoes. I mean, they look great. And then I think there was one after this one that it was the accessories that got him into the report, and that was his gigantic live parrot that was on his shoulder while we were walking around. And I'm like, yeah, you make the fashion report just for the giant live bird on your shoulder. So sometimes it depends on, what you're sporting and whether or not you're going to make it.
Where can they find the Bitcoin Fashion Report? Because, for instance, that one was made during Nashville. And you've made one, I think, in Vegas, and you're going to make one in Dallas at BitBlock Boom. Where can they find these as you do them?
So I've been putting them on my Twitter handle, which is girls_Bitcoin. And then on YouTube, I have them on my, let's see, who am I? The Bitcoin Reports.
Oh, that's a good name.
That is where they are they're going to be there on YouTube under the Bitcoin Reports.
Okay, so everybody check out the Fashion Report. They're really kind of fun to look at. And you get to see a lot of people if you're a Bitcoiner, a lot of these people.
And, I also did the shoes. I also did swag. So I went through Nashville, and I'm going to do this at BitBlock Boom as well. I went through and I actually shipped home 2 giant boxes of swag, and I went through to make this swag report of the things that I thought were the coolest pieces of swag that I found at Nashville. And that was about a 1 minute, but tons of stuff. Fabulous, interesting.
When you go to that conference, it's hard not to come back. Actually, Mel, when I go to that conference, I take a roller bag and put it inside my suitcase, and all my clothes are in the roller bag. And then when I get there, I pull out my roller bag for coming back, and I fill up the full-size suitcase with all the swag I get at the conference so I can give it away at meetups and stuff. But I have so much swag that I need an entire full-size suitcase to bring it home.
Yep.
And I don't want to take 2 bags, so I put one inside the other on the way there. And that's my packing.
Well, I actually went with that exact same intention and had so much that I had to ship stuff to. And it was because I didn't know what I wanted to use. I picked up so much stuff and I didn't know what I wanted to put in the report. But I ended up going through everything. And
when I was at Vegas, when you were helping with Tone's conference, that's another time I had so much swag I could hardly get it all in my suitcase. I mean, I had someone sitting on it as I was trying to close it. I got a lot of swag there because y'all were getting rid of a lot of old swag that y'all just had in storage. For
that's right.
And so those made perfect gifts to give away at the Bitcoin meetups. So let me put a big check here for the swag report. Now, the next thing I want to cover is I want to know about Bitcoin. Well, we only have a minute 32 left. So I'm not going to start that conversation. You're not even going to know what I was wanting to talk about. So we're going to hold it up there. Before we go through, I do want to cover something that'll be real quick. And you got a minute. Are you still collecting Bitcoin cards and Bitcoin stuff like that?
I am.
Because I know you were very heavily involved in that at one time. And so for those who don't remember, we had Aladdin on the show last season talking about BTC cards. And what is the state of Bitcoin cards real quick?
I'm honestly not sure.
20 seconds here.
So because I'm an antique and vintage dealer in my real life, I am just finishing that season. So I've been working my real job and, in the antiques and collectibles world. So I'm kind of just getting back into Bitcoin life, which starts with BitBlock Boom.
Okay.
So I'm going to find out the state of everything at BitBlock Boom. That's where I intend to find out what's happening in real life. And like I went to a meetup last night in Miami for the first time in quite a while. And there's a big meetup happening Sunday. So I'm just really starting to hear new things and
we will continue with that right after this word from our sponsor. So stay tuned. And welcome back to the Bitcoin Boomer Show. Now, I do want to make sure you know this show is called the Bitcoin Boomer Show, but it's not by any means a show just for boomers. I'm the boomer. That's why it's called the Boomer Show. And we talk about Bitcoin. Put them together, Bitcoin Boomer Show. So please share this show with anyone you know, whether they're a boomer or not. Share it with them. Now, today we're talking to Mel Sands. Mel, welcome back to the show. Something I really want to make sure we cover today that I think is pretty cool is you are now involved with Bitcoin Alaska. Is that right? The Bitcoin Alaska Bitcoin Conference. So, and actually, it sounds pretty cool. So give us a rundown on the Bitcoin Alaska Conference, which this is the first year for.
So when I found out about this, I knew I had to get involved because I think Alaska is an amazing place. I spent some time there when I was 19. I did an internship 50 miles west of Juneau, Alaska, which is the capital of Alaska. I got introduced to Wade, who is running the conference, and he's also part of Bitcoin veterans who are going, many of them will be there and are helping out with it. Alaska is the land of, the OGs that they're the OGs of living off the grid. If anyone's going to understand Bitcoin and need Bitcoin, it's Alaska. They're going to be receptive to this. They have natural energy and off-grid energy like they're is no tomorrow. Like, I just cannot think of a better place. So if you've never been to Alaska, it's far. It's a far away place. You have to fly to Seattle, and then you've got to fly another 2.5 hours north. And you can't get to Juneau except by plane or boat. There are so many amazing things to see and do. And I remember when I was 19 thinking, this is going to be on my bucket list to go back to and see when I'm an adult, because this is the most beautiful place in America that I don't think most people have ever been to. So when I found out, I'm like, I have to help. I have to be there. So I can't wait. And so far, everybody that I'm meeting is awesome. And it's like another new group of people. And I think that this is a place that can use our help and is going to be very receptive to it. While the conference is going on, like, they have activities planned from the 1st through the 7th, because, like I said, this is a big trip. This is not something you're going to run up for the weekend and come back. So they've got a cruise, and the cruise they're going to take us where the locals go and not where the cruise ships go. And the locals go to see whales and orcas and bears, and just the wildlife and the nature and the things there is just, and the Northern Lights. And it's only dark for like 3 hours a night, and it's lush, it's green. Anyway, it's fantastic. And it sounds weird for me to say these things, but I promise you, you won't be disappointed. It's something else. And it's the capital of Alaska. Wade also works for the Alaskan government. And so they're really excited to be bringing this there and having it right at the capital, in the capital of Alaska, and are working towards bringing, government people in. And I think they're going to make an impact. And I think if you have any thoughts of coming to a conference this year, this is one you should definitely consider.
Tell me about this cruise, or let me make sure I got this down first. The first day is the cruise, right?
Well, actually, the cruise is on the 3rd.
The third day?
The cruise is on the 3rd. The 4th of July parade is on the 4th.
Right. So the cruise is on the first day. That's what. The first day of the event is the cruise. And then the second day of the event is the July 4th parade.
Correct.
That's the day I'm confused on. Is that all that's happening that day is the parade, or is there, because that can't last all day?
I believe so. Yeah, I believe that's just the parade and the 4th of July picnic, and they're going to have some things like that going on for just the group and the families and things. They do like the 4th of July fireworks at midnight on the 3rd, or you won't get them again until the 5th, because it doesn't get dark enough again until then. It's very funny. So I guess it's an amazing day of activities in the city of Juneau as it is for the 4th of July. And then the actual conference speakers and things are the 5th and 6th. So they've also got some fishing trips lined up, even for the days prior to the cruise for people who are coming. So you name it, there's things going on that all week long.
So if you're going on the 3rd, I mean, if you're going to go to the cruise, which that's an additional
I would look to go from the 1st through the 7th if you can, or the 2nd through the 7th. And you're not going to miss anything.
I was going to say, you probably have to show up the day before the cruise, because that leaves at like 8 in the morning.
Yep.
Okay, so
and that cruise is going to go on all day long. I guess it goes through to like 4 o'clock.
Oh.
And they're talking right now about adding that fishing trip, which will kind of be in the same area. And they go halibut fishing, which I've actually, believe it or not, as a 19-year-old, did this. And these halibut are like 5 feet tall. They're insane. Like,
So they're going to do that on the 3rd with the cruise?
No, they're going to do a separate fishing thing in the days leading up to that.
Oh.
Like for those who are coming in on the 1st, because people are saying they want to go fishing. So they're like planning all kinds of things for people leading into it.
So you really shouldn't get your tickets
yet.
So you really shouldn't get your flight yet, because you might come in on the 2nd and go, I wish I'd come in there.
So I'm planning to, I was going to go the 1st. I'm actually thinking to go a couple days early now because of all the things they're talking about. So,
do you know when they're going to start adding these things to the schedule?
Within the next week or two.
Okay. Because I don't want to go.
They just want to know like who's interested in what kind of before they really put it up there.
Right. I just don't want to go there on the 30th and find out there's nothing until the 2nd. But I don't want to go to the 2nd.
Oh no, there's going to be stuff.
Great the 1st.
Yeah.
So okay, well I'll thinking about tickets. So that's the deal. Anything else about the Alaska conference besides the fact there's hardly any night and it's mostly daytime all the time? Isn't there like some giant zip line there or something that's supposed to be like the world's highest zip line?
There is. So that was one of the things that we were talking about doing. The only problem with it, you have to fly there to go.
Oh, to the
and
zip
it's like
line?
$500 a person to fly there to go to the zip line.
Oh.
So it's not real affordable. So that's why they're kind of thinking about switching that to the fishing trip more locally.
That makes sense.
So I would love to do that, but I don't know if I want to pay $500.
Yeah, I was going to say I've done a lot of zip lines and none of them were worth $500 or $1,000 for Kathy and I both to do. I can't think of one that was.
Sure.
I did one in Colorado that was high as a 70-story building, and it still wouldn't have been worth $500. To do.
I mean, yeah, you're right. I mean, I would totally want to do it, but like I said, I don't want to pay $500.
Okay, so everybody, you need to go to, what's the website?
It is bitcoinalaska.org.
You need to go to bitcoinalaska.org. Take a look at this. They do have a lot of good names speaking there. If you're interested in Bitcoin, or if you're interested in Alaska, or you're interested in both. This is a good chance you can go to Alaska, have a good time, and write it off. Because you're going to a Bitcoin.
Absolutely.
So
that's take the whole thing.
If you're ever going to go, this is the time to go. That's for sure. And now we're going to take a break for a word from our sponsor, and we'll be right back after this word with Mel Sands. See you in a minute. And welcome back to the Bitcoin Boomer Show. Now, we're talking to Mel Sands today, but before we go to Mel, I do want to also tell you about a book I helped write. You may want to check out this book. It is bitblockboom.com/books is the handle for it, and it's Bitcoin and the American Dream. But if you're interested in sharing Bitcoin with somebody, telling someone about Bitcoin, this book is the perfect thing to give them. It's the kind of book you can read on a flight. So it's not super intense, and it's not a super long read. And most people are bored on a flight anyway. So check out Bitcoin and the American Dream at bitblockboom.com/books and see if it's something you might want to buy. You might want to buy multiple copies, paperback copies, and give them out to people that you're trying to teach about Bitcoin or for yourself. But do take a look at bitblockboom.com/books. And now we're back with Mel Sands. Mel, welcome back to the show. We've talked about the fashion report. We've talked about Bitcoin Alaska. Now I want to talk about a Telegram group you told me about. What's the deal in this Telegram group for investing? Give me a little bit of information on this because I'm not paying enough attention to it. I don't think I'm paying enough attention to it.
So I'm in a group with two of the best Bitcoin traders. Well, there's actually four of them, but two of the guys are really good friends of mine too. And I speak to them quite a bit and they don't mind me pestering them with questions all the time about Bitcoin, what Bitcoin's doing. And they've definitely kept me in it, if that's a good way to put it. Meaning if we're going to go down, and we're going to go down in price for a while. I've been able to sell a little bit and wait it out, or, hold and wait to buy a little bit lower. Anyway, just keep myself in the game. When you're living on a Bitcoin standard, it's not great to buy at 100,000 and then have to sell to pay bills at 70. So I am in a group, and this group will be open to the public soon, and it will be a paid group that will have signals in it and such, buy and sell signals. And it's a long-term thing. It's cycles. It goes on a 60-day cycle, and that's how Bitcoin runs. And Bitcoin also runs on a 4-year cycle based on kind of the halvings. And so if it wasn't for these guys, I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you. And it's just, they're a little complicated, definitely. They work with charts and technical analysis and long-term, shorter term, but they've helped me stay sane. As you can see, like today, I'm not sure when this is going to air, but we could be freaking out right now, but we're not. I'm not. Are you, Gary? I mean, I'm
too
not.
long to freak out. My wife is.
And she may be, and I get that. I do, but there's a lot of uncertainty.
Mel, before you go any further, the thing right now is that people don't understand, and this is not my opinion. This is, I think, pretty much fact. I remember when Bitcoin went from 20,000 to 3,500, when it went from 69,000 to 17,000. I mean, these are major drops of 70%. Right now,
Sure.
We've gone from 110 to 76 something, which is about a 30% drop, not a 70% drop. But the thing is, the dollar volume is so high right now that when it makes this drop, for some people, it's millions of dollars, versus thousands of dollars or hundreds of thousands of dollars. It makes a difference. If you're down $30,000 versus $1 million, you're like sweating bullets. If you and you shouldn't have that much in it actually to lose to be down $1 million.
If you're sweating bullets like that,
if you're sweating bullets, you shouldn't have that much in it. But you can be sweating bullets. I'm just using that number though as just a number to show the difference. Even though we're only down 30% versus 70%, people are freaking out more about the 30% because it's so much money now. And I'm sure when Bitcoin hits $1 million and you're down $10 million versus $1 million or versus $10,000, people are really going to be sweating bullets. And even people who have been in it a long time could be sweating bullets at that time, going, you know what? I can't handle this anymore. I'm getting out because now it's worth $10 million.
Well, I feel like everything is a little uncertain right now. I think there's a lot of shuffling going on, and I think they're trying to do things in the markets, maybe to bring, it's complicated. My personal thought of at the moment is they're trying to crash the markets. And if they are trying to crash the markets, I'm ready.
Well,
I'm going to buy some
I think that's very possible. I think that's very possible. They're trying to crash the market in order to drop the interest rates. Because what do we got? $7 trillion due in refinances this year, and I don't actually think the U.S. government can afford to refinance $7 trillion at today's interest rates.
They can't.
And the Fed doesn't seem to care about that. And the Fed doesn't seem to care about that. So I agree with you. I think if I was a betting man, I would be tempted to take the bet that they are trying to crash the market on purpose so that they can refinance at a lower interest rate and then build the market back up. Evidently, you agree with
liquidity. They want the liquidity in the markets, and so by crashing it, they can get it back.
Yeah.
And so if that is what they're going to do, I mean, listen, I am a low rolling. I'm lucky to be here. But with the little bit that I have, I'm ready. I'm ready to take advantage of that if I can. And so, these are the things that I need to learn as the little guy to take advantage when I can to build my portfolio up. And so in that group that I belong to, those guys are so brilliant and they see it too, and they're talking about it as well. And they look at signals and things that are so long-term and so far out that they give me the opportunity to sell a little bit when I need to hold on to buy back in lower. Or to sell a little bit to be ready in case, like I said, if you have to pay bills and you've just bought a hunk at 100,000, you got to pay bills and it's at 70, that's painful. But those guys can help me. They figure that out and help me figure that out.
Yeah, if you're living on a Bitcoin standard, for those who don't understand, it means you are using Bitcoin for a living. You're paying your bills right. Maybe even with Bitcoin. If you're doing it on a Bitcoin standard, and you're right, if you bought Bitcoin and you don't have to buy a whole Bitcoin at 100,000, but if the price was 100,000 when you bought your part of a Bitcoin and it drops to 76,000, which we just saw, and you have to cash out because you have to pay your house payment or your rent or whatever, you really don't want to take a 30% hit, or a 25% hit.
Exactly.
And that's what happens if you're not sitting on any. I saw a statement the other day by somebody, and it was about how so many people who are into Bitcoin get so excited about Bitcoin, they go all in. And then when it drops in price and they have to cash out to do something, then they lose money, which is what you're talking about here. And that happens quite often. So that people should never go all in on Bitcoin is a statement they were making. They always need to keep some on the side so they don't have to sell when Bitcoin's down, which I'm all in.
Well, I think it's a good idea to keep a little dry powder on the side. But I think if you dollar cost average and you do it to where you're buying, I tend to buy where I think I'm getting a deal.
Right.
I don't think I'm getting a deal at 108,000, so that's not normally where I'm trying to buy. But at 76,
every time.
I might be getting a little deal.
I bought it at high every time, so I don't look at that. I bought it 10,000 when it was a high, 20,000, 30,000, 40. Every time I bought a high, it turned out to be a good price. So, hey, we got to stop for a moment, take a word from our sponsor. So we're going to take a break, hear a word from our sponsor, and we'll be right back after these messages. So stay tuned. And welcome back to the show. And I'm going to tell you something that if you're a regular listener or viewer of this show, you know already. And if you're a new viewer or listener, I want to make sure you know. I am not trying to sell you any Bitcoin on this show. That's not my goal, is to sell you Bitcoin. I don't have any Bitcoin I want to sell you, and I'm not doing it anyway. But I do want to make sure you're educated and you know about Bitcoin. Maybe you don't want to buy Bitcoin, and that's fine. But you need to be educated on this subject. Bitcoin, I believe, and I know a lot of people smarter than me that believe this too, is going to someday hit $1 million. I'm not a financial advisor. This is just what people tell me. And I believe the odds of Bitcoin going to $1 million now is higher than it going to zero. So if this does happen, and if I am right, you really need to have a basic understanding of Bitcoin. So that's what this show is for. So please subscribe to the show, hit the bell icon, and tell your friends about this show. If you know anyone you think would be interested in finding out more about Bitcoin, whether they're a boomer or not, share this show with them and help them out and do them a favor. Someday, they may thank you if they take advantage of the advice they're getting. Now, today we're bringing back Mel Sands. Mel, welcome back to the show. Going with the topic we were just on about the investment group, what are they saying right now? Where are we at? I know this is not financial advice, but are we
no.
At this point, are we like looking good, or are we looking for going down further than 76, or what are they thinking?
Well, 76 is where we need to be and where we need to stay. We need to stay above that. If we don't and we go below that, we're in for some pain for a while.
Yeah.
So that's what we see. So
And
right now, and kind of the way they work this is the first target buy at this moment is the 76 mark, where we're kind of at right now. So that's your target buy number one. And so I've bought a little bit at this point, and we're going to see what happens. And if we can close this week above 76, phew, everybody, I think we can take a deep breath. If we don't, then I think we're in for some hurt for a little longer.
So
And
we
I think
got
we'll
4
go
days.
under that.
4 days to
and
go. And we're at 82
Yeah.
right now. So if we stay up here
Yeah.
for 4 more days, we're going to be good. But
I
actually,
think so. I think if we can close over the 76 mark, we'll be all right.
and is it the 76 mark because it had to go down and fill the CME gap?
Yep,
So that's
pretty much. And the Fibonacci lines are all right there too. So, and they're all right at that weekly.
I kind of was hoping that since we'd gone to 110, that or 9 or whatever up there, that on this particular gap we were going to not retrace and see it, because that has happened. It hasn't retraced every gap ever made, and I was hoping.
Yeah.
And actually, I was kind of hoping that with the governments being in it now, with corporations being in it now, with so many billionaires being in it now, that the model was broken and that wouldn't hold up
You would
anymore.
think, huh?
Yeah, but
You would think.
but I guess not. I think that's a self-fulfilling thing, that it just so many people believe in it that it's going to happen. Just because
the
everybody
CME
believes it's
gap
going to happen.
does fill like 85 to 90% of the time. So if it fills, I mean, so far it does. And I mean, I know there's people that don't believe in it. They don't pay any attention to that gap, but it does fill.
Well, I wasn't paying attention, but when it started getting into the 80s, I said, oh my gosh, and when people would ask me what it's going to, I said, probably 76. Now they all go,
Yeah.
God, you sure called that, right? Well, it wasn't too hard of a call to make. As
Right.
I didn't have to do a whole bunch of
And
charting.
it's that, and like I said, the Fibonacci support is all right there. So it's a pretty significant level.
Yeah, so 76 is what we're hoping for. I'm keeping my fingers crossed. I don't want my wife to have a
Yeah,
heart
it's
attack.
it's a good place to buy right there. Yeah. Yeah. But, if it goes lower, I see it as a gift.
Well,
And I'd be buying lower.
Kathy has a hard time with this. Does your husband have a hard time with this? Because he's not into
Nope,
it as much as
not at
you.
all.
So I figure maybe he doesn't have as much conviction as you do. Because Kathy doesn't want to sell, but she's just in panic.
He, strangely enough, when I learned about it and turned it over to him and said, take a look at this, he right away said, oh my God, I see it too. So he's never questioned it, and he's never ever questioned any of the decisions that I've made. I mean, he's absolutely, and he's appreciated the fact that I've jumped in and learned what I have, and he's trusted me on it. And
I was studying the other day, or I don't know what made me do this. I pulled up my calculator and came up with an average amount of stuff I do a day that's Bitcoin related. And multiplied that out by 8 years, I figure I've got like 10,000 hours in on this subject.
sure,
So I kind of feel like
I bet I do too.
I feel like I'm an authority. And I was talking to a friend of mine the other day who I talked into buying Bitcoin at 10,000. And
nice.
He bought Bitcoin at 10,000. I just was talking to him on the phone. I said, I guess you're kind of happy now. And he goes, well, I sold half of it at 20. And I said, what do you mean? He goes, well, this guy was at my shop talking to me, and he was telling me I should sell half to recoup my expenses so I don't have any of my own money in the game. I said, well, that's like a stock deal. Did you not think about asking me about it? And he goes, well, he doesn't really know Bitcoin, but he knows investing. I said, well, this isn't stock, Robert. You should have. Oh, now I've doxed him. I said, you should have asked me about this. And but that's kind of funny, he took the advice of some guy who was a random stranger over someone who's had like 10,000.
That reminds me a little bit of the story of my husband's son, who bought 2 Bitcoins at $20 a piece. and promptly sold them for $40 a piece.
Doubled his money. Doubled his money. Well, Robertson is no skin in the game, but he's missed out on $80,000, $90,000 worth of gains. Well, Mel, we're running out of time here. We have 3 minutes left. So is there, why don't you tell people where they can follow you, find you, and anything else you want, any links or anything else you want to give them?
Girls_Bitcoin is where you can find me on Twitter. I'm also, I'm Mel on Noster. I'm over there. Those are pretty much my two main places that I hang out in the Bitcoin world. Man, there was something else I wanted to say about the reports. I also did some other reports, and I probably will. Oh, I know. That's what I was going to tell you. I also would like to do the BitBlockBoom PoolCon report, because there will be one. I'm already getting messages about PoolCon. Will there be one? Will you be there? And I said yes. I will make sure there's some sort of PoolCon for you all.
Well, there's are you talking about pool, like swimming pool?
Report involved.
Are we talking like swimming pool?
We did it last year. Did you know that?
No, I didn't know that.
Did you know that I actually ran a pool con at the same time, like the day before things were happening?
I didn't know we had a pool con last year. I know we had a lobby con. I didn't know we had a pool con. So, well, there you go. So pool con, and we have a nice pool for the pool con this year, way better than last year's pool. So you should be happy with
we're at a different. I didn't even realize we're at a different place this year.
Yeah, it's just down the interstate, 5 minutes, 10 minutes.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah, so it's real close.
Fantastic.
Well, Mel, thanks for coming on the show. I do appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
We'll have to talk to you soon. And everybody, we're going to be right back after these words from our sponsor, but I do want to remind you one more time, share the show with your friends. If you haven't watched previous episodes, go back on YouTube and watch previous episodes, because we got a lot of episodes. This is like our 4th or 5th season. I can't even keep up with how long we've been doing this show. You know, when you get to be an old boomer, though, time is not an issue anymore. You've spent so much of it doing things that didn't count. For once, I'm doing something that may affect someone's life. So time is not an issue here. But do share the show with your friends. Keep watching episodes. And don't forget, again, to watch go to bitblockboom.com and check that out. We'll be right back after this word from our sponsor. So please stay tuned. And welcome back to the Bitcoin Boomer Show. I had a great time today. Enjoyed talking to Mel. Mel's a good friend of mine. So, you know, there's one thing I like. I like talking with friends, and I like talking about Bitcoin. So you put the two of those together, I'm going to be pretty happy. That's what I talk about an awful lot. I do want to bring on my great producer, Stephanie. Stephanie, what did you think of Mel? You work with everybody. What did you think of Mel, by the way, though, of her, what she had to talk about?
I liked seeing Mel again. It was really cool to have her back. And I never thought of Alaska as a big Bitcoin hub, but it makes sense, like what she said. You know, people are used to kind of making do and being on the how she described it. So that and the fashion report was really cool to see. A lot of colors and a lot of clothes. That was fun. That was just pure fun.
She actually does a good job on the fashion report. Mm-hmm. And she's been running around collecting these photos forever. So, I mean, taking pictures, and she's right. I can see how she would come onto that since she's been taking these pictures, and she has a stockpile of pictures everywhere she goes. Yeah.
That was really creative use of that energy and time. So I'm sure a lot of people enjoyed that too.
Yeah, I agree completely. And before we go, I do want to, like I said, I'm going to mention one more time. I know I've mentioned it already, is BitBlockBoom. You need to check out BitBlockBoom. This is our 8th year for BitBlockBoom, making BitBlockBoom the world's oldest Bitcoin conference, the longest running Bitcoin conference. It's in Dallas, Texas. April 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th. So do take a look at bitblockboom.com. And if you live in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, you may want to check out our monthly meetup, or so what monthly. We skip a month every once in a while if I'm busy or out of town. But go to meetup.com/bitblockboom. That's meetup.com/bitblockboom. We usually meet at a barbecue restaurant, have barbecue, drink a few beers, and talk about Bitcoin. And we always have a pretty lively crowd. So check out our meetups today. I've had people come from Louisiana, Oklahoma, Kansas. So people come a long ways for good Texas barbecue, and that's what we have. So that's it for the show today. I do want to tell you one more thing. Make sure and check out that book again at bitblockboom.com/books. I want to make sure, because that is the greatest book I've ever been involved with. It took 6 of us to write it, so check that out. But thanks for listening and watching the show today. I hope this gives you some information that's going to make a difference in your life, because I truly believe that Bitcoin will make a difference in so many people's lives that it's amazing. So don't miss out and keep watching and researching Bitcoin. See you on the next one, and stack those sats.